All right, good morning, ladies. Welcome to class number 1. It's not mine. To class number 1 in our 7-part series of our Rosh Chodesh Society to Believe or Not to Believe. Oh, that's her tea? Okay. So as you can see, we have some virtual friends. We have a lot of in-person friends here. And we are going to get started right away. So I wanted to start off with an introduction before we even open our books. So if you look under your book, and for those who are on Zoom, if you have a paper or just think it in your head, you'll see you have a blank paper and you all have a pen. In 5 sentences, you're not going to read this out loud, don't worry. Write down, who are you? Who are you? Think. This class is here for you to think. Who are you? You can think it if you don't have a paper, but just who are you? Write down 4 or 5 things that define who you are. You can write in any language you want. Good morning, Adriana. There's a chair with your name on it right there. So we're just starting, Adriana. First of all, there's tea, coffee, and help yourself to some breakfast. And you have a pen under your book, a paper under your book, and you are writing down, list 4 or 5 things that define who you are. I know, it's easier said than done. I will not lie. Well, so think about it. What makes you you? Okay, that's one. What makes you you? We're going to give it 1 more minute. What can I pass you? Okay. Please eat. That's what we don't want leftovers here. You know I don't like leftovers. One of my pet peeves, leftovers. All right, and now I'm going to throw you for a whirl. Look through your list, and I want you to cross out anything that describes you in relation to other people.
Oh my God.
So I know what you wrote. I'm a mother, I'm a friend, I'm a this, I'm a that. Cross it out. Okay? We want what's you, not who you are in relation to others. Okay? You may have nothing left on your list. You might find that. I know. I probably would. Okay. Okay. So cross it out, and I keep these papers for yourself. Oh boy. Okay, we crossed a lot of them. Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna change so many things about our way of thinking, ladies. Don't you worry. All right. So now let's go through some scenarios. You make up a time with your husband or your friend or whoever to meet at the bank, and they show up 25 minutes late. How do you feel?
Furious.
All right. Adriana is furious.
The one is gonna be 25 minutes late.
Oh, you're the one. Okay, so how does he feel?
She probably feel, but I will let her know.
No, you didn't let them know.
No.
Okay. You just showed up late.
I show up late.
No, she's saying she's the one who's going to show up late. You made up a time to meet someone, and they showed up 25 minutes late without letting you know.
And I'll be happy because unless we're missing the appointment, the bank appointment,
Sure.
then
it's a big scenario. We can make it anything we
I
want.
never go anywhere without things that I want to read. So hey.
Okay.
I don't
All right,
care.
Cheryl, you are a lot more evolved than a lot of us are. What worry?
For people that come in late because they want to come in late. So
Self-American thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Next scenario. You have worked really hard on a volunteer project. You put in a lot of time, a lot of talent, and a lot of effort. And the project goes very well. And at the end of the project, a fellow volunteer brags about how she pulled off the whole thing, and she takes credit for all of your hard work and your ideas. How do you feel?
I'm not so evolved.
Okay. All right, last scenario. Your child bakes a cake and then leaves the kitchen a mess. There's batter on the doors of the refrigerator. There's flour all over the counters and the floor. There's dishes out the wazoo, and there's stuff hanging from the ceiling. How do you feel?
Here it goes again.
10 years old. All right. How would okay, I know. I would probably get pretty annoyed.
Anymore.
Right, exactly. Okay, I might get pretty annoyed. Here's my question. These things happen to us all the time. I mean, in different scenarios in life. Has your reaction changed over years of life?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
why? What made it change?
We got used to it. We got used to
We
it.
got used to it, but there's more.
Patience.
Patience.
I learned to pick my battles.
You learn to pick your battles. Okay, anything else?
I think just aging.
Aging, wisdom. Okay. All of this, I think, can fall under one category of we've gained in self-awareness. Would everybody agree with me on that? We've gained in self-awareness. The more we learn about ourselves, the more we grow and we change, that's what we're going to be learning in this class. A self-awareness, but in a way that you've never learned before, because we're going to be learning about that self-awareness through the inner makeup of our soul. Okay? So this course is based on a book called The Tanya. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of The Tanya.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do I have any hands raised? Okay, I can't see a lot of you. All right. So it is written by a very holy man. His name was the Alter Rebbe, Rebbe Shner Zalman of Liadi. And I'm going to show a quick... Oh, there's a chat here. One second. What am I missing? Oh, Tatiana, I forgot. Yes, we are sponsoring today's class for the yard side of Rivka Esther's mother. May her memory be a blessing. Thank you for reminding me.
Amen.
All right, do you want to just tell us a quick what her name was?
So my mom name was Hidalberga Torna.
Okay,
She was an amazing woman.
Well, if she had a daughter like you, she must have been.
Amen. Thank you very much.
All right, so I am going to share the screen. And ladies, sorry, my tech guy is out of town. So usually we have it up on the wall, but he's on a plane to New York right now for the conference this weekend. So we're going to go low tech. And just know that hopefully next time will be a little more high tech, okay? Hi, Tasras. All right, so we are going to share screen. You know, you need to.
Kasia.
Oh yeah, she's a little sad you didn't come in person today, Tatiana.
No. Kasia, I love you.
All right,
How you
share
feeling?
screen. Hold on, how do I do this? There's no school today, no.
No school.
Mm-mm. Teacher Professional Development Day. Oh, all the mothers going,
Oh, yeah. You got it.
You got it. Okay. Sorry. Can you call Tati for a minute? I don't know why it's not working today. Okay. Ladies on the screen, can you see this screen?
Yes.
Okay. I know usually there's a little button for me to put that you should be able to hear it, but it's not showing up today. I don't know why. So I hope you're going to hear it. Okay. Leva, how do I share the sound? Because usually there's a little button that shows up that I can share the sound. Oh. Okay. Thank you. All right, so we're going to watch a short clip. This clip is going to tell us what the Tanya is, who wrote it, and how it came into being. Can everybody see? Yeah? If you need to stand up, okay?
In 1796, a book was published that would forever change the way we understand the human condition. The book became known as the Bible of Hasidism. The book was called Tanya, and this is the story. Rabbi Shner Zalman of Liadi was a brilliant 18th century scholar and mystic. In 1775, he founded the Chabad Lubavitch Hasidic movement and began to teach, mentor, and advise his thousands of followers. He soon realized that from the sophisticated to the simple, everyone was plagued by the same questions. Questions that people from all faiths and backgrounds have asked for centuries. Why am I attached to things that are not good for me? Why do my actions so often not align with my beliefs? Why am I always battling with the same old demons? So he sat with disillusioned and perplexed seekers, uplifting their spirits and adjusting their understanding of who they were, what they were there to accomplish, and what life was all about. As he listened and counseled, he wrote summaries and essays and catalogs of intimate conversations. Meanwhile, the community grew and grew, and the questions kept coming. Rabbi Shner Zalman, no longer had enough hours in the day to meet privately with the throngs of Hasidism. The time had come to put quill to parchment, to organize his sprawling vision for the healing of the soul, and to put it in the hands of people everywhere. In his foreword, Rabbi Shneur Zalman articulated the purpose of the Tanya. I address those with whom I have had many warm, intimate conversations, and who revealed to me all the secrets of their hearts and minds concerning their heartfelt service of God. In these pamphlets, my tongue will be transformed into the scribe's pen, and my words will seep through to them. In this work, every person will find tranquility for their soul and proper guidance on any matter that one finds difficult in the service of God. In 53 chapters, the Tanya lays out a highly methodical presentation of the foundational principles of Hasidism: how to serve God sincerely and joyfully, how to remain humble and motivated, how to contend with inner struggles, the purpose of life, of challenge, of existence, of the individual. These insights revolutionize the way we think about God, the world, and our place in it. For the 200 years since its publication, scholars of every persuasion have mined the depths of the Tanya, discovering the endless applications to the anxieties, large and small, of life as a soul in a body in this world. As the author promised, the Tanya sits, willing to provide all the answers to all the questions, to every person in every generation. All that is left to do is to open our hearts and minds and begin to study Tanya.
Let me stop sharing.
What is the translation?
Imagine restoring your eye.
Second, I'm sorry. Okay. Good morning, Sharon. Do me a favor. You'll see under that table, there's a box. In that box, like next to the pink bag, you can grab a workbook. So you just can follow along. Pull up a chair anywhere and grab some food. All right, so. Okay, there we go. All right, so as we know, the Tanya, we're going to discuss what it means and all of that, is a book written by the first Chabad Rebbe. In this lesson, in this course, we'll call him the Alter Rebbe. That is what he was known as. And he wrote this book as a result of all the questions. And he realized that everybody is plagued by the same issues. We all may look different. We all have different lives and different circumstances. But at the end of the day, this is the human condition. And he wrote this amazing book. And when we learn this book, which we'll be starting today, think of it as your personal meeting with the Alter Rebbe. Because it's not just a book to study, it's a program. That's really what it is. And I've been learning Tanya probably since elementary school, for sure, in high school. I've been learning, it's something we've learned, it's something that's part of our curriculum in school. It's like we call it the Bible of Chabad philosophy. And you'll be hearing a lot of things that you may have heard in different classes that I or Label or other places that you've heard. And now you're going to understand a lot of where it comes from. So we're going to open our book.
She asked what was the translation.
I don't actually know the exact translation of the Tanya, but I'll look into it for you. All right, so you're going to open your book. We are on page 2. And can I ask Cheryl, can you be our first reader for today? I always call.
You would get me with my mouth, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
You'll forgive me though, right? Okay. You're going to take page number 2. Right in the beginning.
I address those who know me well, each and every member of the Hasidic community who lives in our land and in adjacent land, those with warm conversations, and who reveal to me all the secrets of their hearts and minds and all that pertains to the divine service that is dependent on the heart. To them I direct my word in this work, entitled Yikutai
Amarim.
a compilation of discourses. This work is comprised of responses to the many questions frequently posed by Hasidim in our land, advice and moral guidance in the service of God, each according to their spiritual station. Time no longer, like a on?
Yeah, finish it, yeah.
permits me to reply to each person individually and in detail. Furthermore, my verbal responses can be easily forgotten. I have therefore recorded all the replies to all the questions to be preserved for perpetuity and to be readily available to all. Individuals should no longer press to be admitted to talk with me in private, for in this work everyone can find counsel to soothe their soul and proper guidance on any matter that one finds difficult in the service of God.
So this is actually written in the foreword of the Tanya. This is a letter he writes. Obviously, he still did continue to see people, but this book was written.
He said there's no more. He's not more.
Okay, so then go grab it over here. But mommy needs to teach now, okay? So go grab it over here. All right. So there's a good joke, okay? It goes, when a guy's printer began to grow faint, he called a local repair shop where a friendly rep informed him that the printer probably needed to only be cleaned. Because the store charged $50 for such cleanings, the rep told him he might be better off reading the printer's manual and trying to do the job himself. Pleasantly surprised by the rep's candor, the guy asked, "Does your boss know that you discourage business?" "Actually, it's my boss's idea," the rep replied sheepishly. "We usually make more money on repairs if we let people try to fix things first."
So true.
All right. So we know in life, we're always looking for guidance, right? And so when we want to learn a new skill, what do? We go to the expert, right? I want to learn how to play piano. I'm going to go and find a piano teacher. I want to learn how to be a really good writer. I'm going to take some writing courses. I want to be a great actor. I'm going to go to acting school, etc., etc. So when we want to grow in our Judaism, in our service of God, we go to the experts. The Alter Rebbe is that expert. And so this year, through this course, we have 7 classes once a month for 7 months. And we're going to be having 7 meetings with the Alter Rebbe. So let me just tell you in a brief nutshell what we're going to be discussing in each class. So for class number 1, which is today, we will be discussing new self-awareness. That was the word that we just used in the beginning of the class, a perspective of ourselves, and it lays out the groundwork for the next few classes. In class number 2, we're going to be talking about expectations that we have for ourselves. Okay, in class number 3, we're going to talk about strategies of self-mastery, how to master ourselves. Easier said than done, right? In class number 4, we're going to talk about managing negative emotions, pain, anxiety, shame, guilt, etc. In class number 5, we're going to talk about secrets behind happiness and connected relationships. In class number 6, we're going to talk about what is our purpose in this world and what are our contributions to this world. And in class number 7, our last class, we're going to talk about paths towards personal transformation and spiritual growth. These sound very lofty and all that. Don't you worry, we're going to break this down so, it all gets very simple and very easy to understand. So today's class is going to be a little bit more informational rather than very instructional, if that makes sense what I'm saying. Because today we're going to be learning some basic groundwork and basic things that you kind of have to know to move forward. And I was preparing it and I was thinking, so we got my son Mordechai, wanted to learn how to play guitar. So I got him a guitar teacher, very nice young woman from Hollywood. And so the first class, he's ready, start playing his songs. And she's like, there's some things you got to know first. And she had to teach him how to tune the guitar and what the letters mean and all those things, which clearly is not what he wants to learn. But in order to be able to learn guitar, you have to know those things. Otherwise, there's no point in learning guitar. So it just came to my mind. Obviously, I hope you'll enjoy what we learned today. But today's class is more of an instruction, more of informational, and then we'll be talking much more about the details and how to achieve these things in the following classes. So raise your hand if any of you have ever learned Tanya before. Sharon, okay.
Would that be past classes that you've taught?
Not that I've taught, but any other, no, I'm saying in general, in life, any of you ever learned Tanya? No? Okay. So Sharon, you're a one and only. Well, this makes me even more excited to bring this to you. All right, so what we're going to be doing today is more of a bird's eye view of the Tanya. The Tanya is 53 chapters, and it's laid out in a very organized, methodical fashion. And so I know when I was learning Tanya, we kind of went into deep concepts. So you know how they say you can't see the forest for the trees? So I saw the trees when I was, which is amazing. But today we're going to be doing a bird's eye view, and we're going to be going through, we're going to be we're going to be like condensing very large ideas into each class, but obviously like touching the surface. And I hope this kind of whets your appetite later on to even delve deeper into something that catches and piques your interest. So let's get started what we started our lesson with. So just think the answers in your head. Okay, we said, who are you? Are you good? Are you bad? Good. I'm glad to hear that, Mila. Are you kind or are you mean?
Kind.
Always?
Me sometimes.
Always? Okay. Are you generous or are you stingy? Are you calm or are you anxious?
Conscious.
But not always. You look calm right now. Are you a happy person? Are you not a happy person? Are you spiritual? Are you materialistic? Do you care about your looks? Or are you very happy in your own skin and you don't care what anybody thinks about you? Do you care about what people think about you when you do things? Or do you not? So obviously, I think most of us can say it's not a yes or no. Sometimes I feel this way. Sometimes I feel that way. I'm not one or the other. Because it really depends on my mood. It depends what part of life I'm in. It depends what stage of life I'm in. All of those things will depend on how I'm feeling. Sometimes I'm feeling very generous. And then my child comes for the 17th time. And then all of a sudden the generous spirit just disappears. And I yell and they go, oh, why are you yelling? And I'm like, because you asked me 7 times and I answered you 7 times and you didn't listen. So now I yell, right? So we all have to have different feelings. And we're not all one or nothing. Have you ever made a resolution? I'm sure all of us have. Did you keep to it?
No.
Turn to page sometime. Turn to page 3, exercise 1.1, and identify one resolution that you made sincerely, but then failed to implement or maintain. You can write that down. Don't worry, this is for you. Now you don't have to share with anybody. And why didn't you follow through with that resolution? Did you get a book? Would you like a book? Yeah, yes. Write a book. All right, while you're all writing, I can say that I have made a lot of resolutions in my life. Do you know that I'm going to eat healthier? I'm also going to work out 4 times a week. I'm also never going to yell at my children because I'm going to be a patient mom. I'm going to make sure we go on date night twice a month, so that we keep the relationship going. I'm also going to keep my house more organized, and on and on and on and on and on. Yeah, that sound familiar, ladies? Any of you?
That's my list.
Okay, that's your list. Okay. My question is, why don't we keep it? Why don't we want to? Don't my values line up with my resolutions? My values line up very much with my resolutions. What's wrong with me? Why is it not important enough to me or to you to keep it? And why do we feel so torn at it? Like, I want to do this, but I can't. Why is it? We kind of say, well, the real me, please stand up. Like, who am I? Why can't I do this? And so the good news is we're all not crazy. This is part of the human condition. We are all very conflicted, and we were created this way. And one of the first things that the Alter Rebbe writes in the Tanya is that each of us have 2 souls. The first one is a very human soul. We will call it the natural soul. It's also a little bit of an animalistic soul because it is very self-oriented. It's all about what's good for the person. So my natural soul wants what it wants from my body. It wants pleasure. It wants enjoyment. It has a drive for self-preservation, right? It's our survival instinct. It can do well. It can also do very good. Like we all have natural instincts in us. Some of us are more compassionate. Some of us are more generous. Those are all they can do good things, and that can also be part of our natural soul. And the opposite as well. They can also do things that are not so good. Like, they say, how many narcissists does it take to change a light bulb? 1. The rest of the world just revolves around it, right? And screws it in. So our natural soul is not a bad thing. It's just all for self-enhancement and for asserting itself. It does what it wants to do. That's what's natural. It's a self-serving soul. And if we turn to text number 2 on page number 4, Michelle, do you mind reading?
Find it all.
Okay.
Number 2, right?
Yeah.
Each Jewish individual, irrespective of their spiritual standing, possesses 2 souls, as it is stated. The Neshamot souls have made. These are 2 light. Neshamot I have made. These are 2 life forces. One life force originates in Kalipa, non-holiness, Kalipa, and this is the soul that is within a person's blood to give life to the body, regarding which it is stated, for the soul of the flesh is within the blood. From this soul stem all of our negative character traits. It also produces our positive traits that are innate, such as compassion and kindness.
Okay, everyone with me so far? All right, so this soul originates in something called Kalipa. Kalipa means a shell. That is literally what it means, a shell. It's covering over the pure godliness. Then we have our second soul. And our second soul is called our godly soul. And this is a completely selfless soul. And it's focused solely on what God wants, true goodness. And you know what this is called? This is called our neshama. Have you heard the word neshama before?
Of course.
Neshama. And what does neshama come from? The root for neshama is nishima. Nishima means to breathe, right? To blow, to breathe?
Yep.
Yes? The Israelis
Show,
answer.
yes.
Yes. So think about it. Like we can do this exercise with our kids, for example. If I'm talking to you, I'm going to talk to you for 20 seconds. Is it hard for me? Not too hard. But if I blow for 20 seconds, is that hard for me? Why? Because the breath is coming from like deep in here, right? It's hard to blow. And God created the world through speech. But when he gave Adam his life, he blew into him. So our soul is literally God's breath. It's from God's deepest part, and it's literally a piece of God that is within us. So if we turn to text number 3 on page 5, Esther, do you mind reading?
Yes. The second soul of the Jew is an actual part of God above. As it is stated, God blew into his nostrils a soul of life, and as we recite in our morning prayers, you blew my soul into me. The Zohar states, one who blows does so from deep within themselves. That is, the person blows from their innermost being, for it is of their innermost vitality that a person emits through exhaling with force.
Okay, thank you. So we are all born with our animal soul. The minute a child enters this world, they have an animal soul. And as we know, children are their natural soul is the more dominant soul as a child. The baby cries, they don't care if you're tired, they want to eat, they don't care what you're doing. They're self-oriented. That is the nature of children. And as children grow up, that is when they develop more self-awareness, as we talked about, right? Our self-awareness changes as we grow older. And the godly soul fully enters a Jewish person at their bar or bat mitzvah, because that is when they are old enough to intellectually understand more of their self-awareness to be given this great privilege. And for those who were actually in our course last year, I think we talked about it a little bit in our last class, how we are born with our natural soul, but then like at their baby naming, they get a little bit of it. And then when they turn 3, they get a little bit more, and it comes a little bit more, and then it's in full force at their bar or bat mitzvah. That's when a Jewish person is considered an adult according to Jewish law, and that's when their godly soul fully comes into being. So if you look at figure 1.1 on page 6, you'll see here we have a little of a graph or a chart. So we see that our natural soul versus our godly soul. So our natural soul is klipa, which is that shell, versus our godly soul is pure godliness. Our natural soul is more selfish. Our godly soul is more altruistic. Our natural soul is naturally installed within our blood. Our natural soul runs in our bloodstream. Our godly soul was breathed forcefully into our body. Our natural soul seeks pleasure versus our godly soul seeks godliness. Our natural soul is our primal soul, and our godly soul is a supplemental soul. For example, we don't need a godly soul to live. Billions of people live without it. This is a very Jewish concept that we have this. Any questions before we move on? Does everyone understand? I want to make sure that we're getting this. Yes? Ladies, you with me? On Zoom, you're with me, ladies? They're all on
Yes.
mute. Okay,
Well,
awesome.
I'm not, because
Okay.
if, you say that many people live without a godly soul, but every single person that's born has God's breath.
Yes,
Regardless.
the what's it called? The natural soul is from God. This is an additional soul.
Not the godly, not the natural, but another third one.
No, everyone is born with a natural soul,
Right.
and then our godly soul is blown into us.
Right. So how are we saying that the last comment you made was many people live without a godly
Without
soul?
this Jewish godly soul, many people
Okay,
do.
Jewish godly soul, but a godly soul, every single human
Yes,
being
yeah. All of
has
this, yes,
a godly soul, has
of
a
course,
spark of God.
of course. And the
Okay.
natural soul is godly
As well.
as well.
Both are.
It's just a more of a covered up. It's more of our self-oriented, and we're gonna delve into that.
So what's the difference between the godly soul and the Jewish godly soul? Like doesn't every Jewish person has a
That
Jewish?
is the it's called the Nefesh Elokit. This is one that all Jewish people have. Yes. Yeah. There's many names for it. Yes. All right.
What do you mean by living without a godly soul?
Jewish people have an additional soul that God gave us at Mount Sinai. And that soul is needed to connect to God in the ways of doing Torah and mitzvot.
Okay, so let's say you're Christian and you're very observant.
And that's why the natural soul does have good things in it. That does have good things in it. We're not saying the animal soul is a bad thing.
Right,
It contains the potential for both.
for good and bad, but so you're saying that only Jews have a godly soul?
Have this specific godly soul. There's a lot more to learn, and a lot more to learn, and we're not going to go into it because we're talking about a Jewish class today. But definitely, the godly soul that we're discussing today is a Jewish godly soul that we're discussing, and we can definitely delve into it in another class. It's just going to totally derail everything. All right, so let's move on. So, what is our soul made of? Like, I kind of think in my childlike thing, like just a little ball of light that just shines, but it actually has a very complex anatomy. So we have 10 faculties that make up the soul's core. And if you look at your book, if you look at text at page number 7, okay, so I'm going to read that loud. The soul consists of 10 faculties, which subdivide into 2 categories, intellect and emotions. The intellects include chachma, wisdom, bina, understanding, and dat, knowledge. And the emotions are love of God, fear, awe, glorifying him, and so forth. And if you look at figure 1.2, some of you actually might recognize this, because for those who have ever learned anything in Kabbalah, this is like the thing that pops right out at you, right? Okay, so yes. So the makeup, the anatomy of our soul literally mirrors the sefirot of God. And okay, so that's what it mirrors. Now, take a moment and in your mind focus on an emotion, any emotion, and just let it run through your body. Happiness, anger, sad, shame, guilt, joy, excitement. Just pick an emotion. And by looking around the room, can you tell what someone else is feeling? Right? No, because feelings are invisible until we express them. And so that is why we have something called 3 garments. Think of it like clothing, literally, that are expressions of the soul and its faculties. So if we go to text number 5, we will read, in addition to its 10 faculties, each godly soul possesses 3 garments. They are thought, speech, and action as they find expression in the 613 commands of the Torah. So we have all of these great things that we saw in wisdom, understanding, awe, fear, but until I actually think it, speak it, or act on it, there's no way for me to express it. So that is why everything that we have in our soul is expressed through these 3 garments, the thought, the speech, and the action. Now, before even the question comes up, you're going to say thought is a very, we can't really control that. So we're talking about a thought that is actually sitting in your brain. We have thoughts that, this highways. We have thoughts that just always go by, whatever. We're talking about thoughts that you're actually focusing on. Okay, we can't control what comes into our minds, but we can control, to a degree, how long we focus on it. And for those thinking that we can't even control that, that's going to be discussed in later classes. Don't you worry. So if we look at figure 1.3, we'll see here faculties versus garments. Faculties are internal, garments are external. Faculties are what you want, and garments are what you do. Faculties are self, and then we have garments are self-expression. The faculties are composition of soul, and our garments are modes of expression. So we have all of this potential, and this is how we make it a reality. And now the animal soul is a mirror, because we know everything in the world is created equal. Good and bad are created equal. We have everything is equal, a balance, exactly. So if you go to text number 6, Sharon, do you want to read text number 6 for us in English?
God created one as the opposite of the other. Just as the godless soul consists of 10 holy faculties and is clothed with 3 holy garments. Similarly, the non-holy soul that is invested with a person's blood consists of 10 crowns of impurity.
Okay. Who didn't read yet? Leah, do you mind reading text number 7?
When we entertain thoughts, speak words, or perform actions that originate from or express our natural soul's intelligence and emotions, then the very thought in our brain, the words in our mouth, and the power of action in our hands and the other organs are referred to as impure garments. For our natural souls, 10 non-holy components invest themselves vehicles, expression for the duration of that activity, speech, or.
Okay. So I have a question. When do we know which garment it is? How do I know if it's a garment for the godly soul or a garment for the natural soul? How do I really know? Sometimes it's hard to know. So let me ask you ladies. Adriana, what's your preferred wine?
Wine?
Yeah, what's your favorite wine?
Malbec.
Malbec. Cheryl, what's your preferred wine?
Wine Hazen, wine.
All right. Michelle, what's yours?
Moscato.
Okay, so we have 3 lovely ladies here with 3 totally different opinions about which wine they like. Now, I'm sure they're all delicious, but you all have your preferred one. So which one's the right one? Which one's the best one? Right? We don't know. So in Tanya terms, everyone's smile at label. We need to take the picture. That's the way it works, okay?
Will not be used to incriminate you in a court of law. All right.
Thank you. All right, so in Tanya terms, there is only one definition of good, and that is godliness. If it's anything else, it is called, in Hebrew, it's called sitra achara, which in English means the other side. For something to be from the godly soul, it has to be completely godly. It cannot be neutral. Anything else is on the other side. Okay, this is a big thought, like wrap our brains around it. Bless you, Michelle. All right, so if we look at text number 8, Ellie, do you mind reading text number 8?
I'm sorry, I'm not the guy.
So,
The results of the practical expressions of our natural soul are all the deeds that are done under the sun, and all words and thoughts that are not directed to God, to His will, or to His service. This is the significance of the phrase used in Jewish mysticism to describe non-holiness. Sitra achara,
which is the other
means
side.
The other side, meaning anything that not an expression of holiness.
Yeah. Okay, so anything that is not specifically godliness comes from what we call the other side, sitra achar, which is a word you'll hear a little bit in this course. And that could be eating lunch, going to the park, going out to a restaurant, taking a vacation. None of these are bad, right? None of them are bad. They're great things to do, but these are not coming from our godly soul. And so we have both souls are mirror images. So we have, each of them have those 10 components and the 3 garments. Is everyone with me so far?
Question.
Yes.
So, even if you say the blessing,
You're getting to the next part of what I'm getting to. Your question will be answered. So now we're going to break it down a little bit more. Ladies on Zoom, are you with me? Just want to make sure everyone's okay.
Yes.
Any questions?
No.
Not yet. Okay. All right. So let's break it down a little bit more. So, one thing we try to instill in our youth and our children and our today's generation is that we want to, and we're not really great at telling ourselves. You want me to make it a little warmer? Sure. Everyone's cold?
It's cold outside.
It's cold?
Yeah. Oh. That's a Montreal.
Yeah.
That what it was? Yeah, something, because sometimes it's just a reaction to food.
Yeah.
was-
Yeah, it just blew
We
up.
should warm up. All right, so one thing that we try to teach our generation, our younger generation, and that we're not really great at telling ourselves, is that everything that we do matters. Right? It's something we always try to teach everybody, but sometimes we don't really tell ourselves that. And we think, oh, it doesn't really matter. I'm one person. It's not so important. But we tell our kids, everything you do is so important. You can change the whole world, right? That's what we do. But we have to learn at being a little better to tell that to ourselves. Did you know that? Yes.
I think that's maybe your generation that teaches that to children.
Well, actually, no, you're going to learn that that's not true. Well, maybe let me rephrase. Maybe it's something that should have been taught when we were children, okay? Because did you know that when you say a prayer or when you make a blessing, do you know that angels dance on our lips every time a holy word leaves our mouths? Yeah, you do. Okay? Yes, every thought, everything we do, every single thing matters. Now,
I'm sorry, can you repeat that about the angels when we say
when
a
we
blessing?
pray, when we say something holy, we make a blessing, angels are created every time we say or pray something.
Oh, really? Every time that we say a blessing or we pray,
yes.
angels being creating?
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. I didn't know that.
Yeah, yes. The world is equal. They say, right? Everything is equal. And so, call out to me, ladies. What are some things you did this morning?
I went to the gym. I woke up 5 in the morning, so I have to get ready. So I went to my first workout with a personal trainer for an hour, and then I went to a boxing class.
Whoa, okay.
Okay. No time to get ready, so I just putting a scar and
wow, we bow to you.
Okay. I showered,
She took a shower
and did my
blessing.
It's fine. You're great.
I walked my dog and I
Okay, she walked her dog. What else? What did you do today?
Morning blessings, walked and showered.
Okay, anybody else?
I did exercise in the morning and went for a walk for an hour.
I just want to say, wow, like ladies, we got some very fit ladies here. Wow.
No.
Okay, so all right, we got up. I know I got one kid off to school, packed another kid off to go to New York. We all did things today. Were they good or were they not? Okay. So we've talked about two extremes. Talked about godly and non-godly, and it feels like either I'm like stealing someone's car or I'm like making a blessing on food. That's what it kind of feels like, right? But let's talk about the vanilla, the gray, whatever you want to call it, right? We know what's holy. When I make a blessing, it's holy. When I kiss a mezuzah, it's holy. When I pray in shul, it's holy. When I eat kosher, it's holy. When I all that or give charity, it's holy. But what about the neutral stuff? Like going to the gym, walking my dog. What else? He's taking a shower. All the examples. So, did we read text 8 yet?
No, we're ready.
Yes.
No, we did. Okay.
We're ready.
Yeah, text number 9. All right. So we're going to introduce a third category, and it's called Kalipas Noga. I'm going to read it just because I know it's starting to get late, so I'm going to keep reading it. All right. There is a saccharine gradation within unholiness, which is referred to as Kalipat Noga. From this force emerges the souls of kosher animals, birds, and fish, as well as the energy that vivifies and sustains all that is inanimate and all vegetation that is permissible for consumption. From Klipas Noga, there also flows the energy that vivifies and sustains every act, utterance, and thought involving mundane matters that contain no forbidden element, meaning they are not forbidden by either biblical decree or rabbinic ordinance, but neither are they performed for the sake of heaven. Rather, they are the result of the natural will, desire, and lust of the body. This is the case even regarding matters that are required for corporeal maintenance or even mortal preservation in life itself, provided that the individual's intention is not for the sake of heaven, meaning that the individual fails to actively intend to serve God thereby. So we do things. We have to take a shower every day. We have to feed our families. We got to do stuff. We got to go to work. So these are all part of what we call Kalipat Noga. There's like a mosquito that's flying right there. Okay. I'm sorry to hear that. Okay. All right. So we have a lot of objectives that are neither holy nor unholy. For example, a car. It's a car. It can be used for good it can be used for bad. But as of right now, the car is just a car. It's
Serve
when
us.
I decide what I'm going to do with said car that it kind of falls into a category. What will the car be used for? Now, if I'm going to take my car and I'm going to drive it here to teach Torah to all of you ladies, then my car has been used for a godly purpose. You're with me? There's actually a beautiful story. There's another clip, but the quality is not good and it's not going to work. Y'all know, for those who watch The Simpsons, there's a very cute clip of The Simpsons where I guess one of the children grew up to be a clown. Does this sound familiar to anybody? I never watched The Simpsons, so I really don't know. His father was a rabbi. And so everyone comes, Rabbi, should I have another baby? Should I buy a car? Yes, you should do this. It's good for us. Dad, I want to become a clown. No, Jewish people don't become clowns. That's not good. You're going to go to school and you go, I'm going to slap you and I'm going to pop you over the head, whatever. And he goes, I started my career by making fun of my father during class, and he's making this, whatever. Turns out that he becomes a clown and his father doesn't approve. So the question is being a clown, can that be used for good or for not good? And so there's a beautiful story about a little girl who visited the Lubavitcher Rebbe with her parents in the early 1950s. So after her parents finished whatever they were discussing with the Rebbe turned to the little girl and asked if she had any questions. So her parents were like, shh, oh, it's good, let's leave. It's not appropriate. And the Rebbe's like, no, let her ask her question. And she said, Rebbe, is atomic energy, I guess that was the time then, is atomic energy good or bad? And the Rebbe answered her with a question. He goes, is the knife in your kitchen, is it good or bad? She goes, it depends. If we use it to cut up food and prepare meals, then it's good. But if I use it to hurt somebody, then it's not. So the Rebbe said, this is the answer to all of our questions. It can be used for good or bad. But how we use it is, one second, mommy's busy right now, okay? How we use it depends on how it comes to be. And that's really the answer for all technology and all things that we have today. Is the internet good or bad, right? When the internet came out, a lot of Jewish people were like, internet, bad. We could do so many bad things on it. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and it came like, no, the internet has so much potential. Right, the internet has so much potential, and COVID even more. The internet has so much potential. You can learn so much Torah. You can connect with so many people. At the same time, the internet can be used for pretty horrible things. So it's all a matter of how we take a neutral item, a kalipat noga item, and how we channel it. So look at my drink here. For those who were here yesterday, it's the same drink, different cup, okay? I have my collagen hot chocolate in this cup. Is it good or is it bad? If I take this and I spill this down the sink right now, is it a bad thing? Is it a good thing? Neither. But if I drink this hot chocolate, what does it do? It then gives me energy. And it fuels me so that I can have energy to teach this class. So I can take care of my cutie little kitties and all of that stuff. Or I can give it to use energy for something that's not great. It's all a matter of what I decide to use that neutral item for. All right, so we're going to turn to text number 10, which is on page 14.
Shayna?
Yes, go ahead.
I have to leave because I have to go back to class.
Okay.
But I thank you so much for everything. I want to ask you if you can save me a copy of the paper so I can read it after.
Yes, 100%.
Thank you so much for everything. It was very beautiful.
Of course. Good luck with your class. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Cassia. Love you.
Bye.
All right, who did not have a chance to read yet that would like a chance to read? All right, Adriana, you want to read text number 10? Go ahead.
For instance, we might eat delicacies like prime beef and drink fine wine in order to broaden our mind for the service of God and for His Torah. As Rava declared, wine and fragrance make my mind more receptive. Or in order to fulfill the commandment to enjoy the Sabbath festival. In such a case, the energy of the meat and wine, originating in Klipat Noga, is attracted and ascends to God like a burnt offering and sacrifice. Similarly, we might share a humorous remark to sharpen our mind and cause our heart to rejoice in God and His Torah and service, which should be practiced joyfully. Indeed, Rabbi would do this for the sake of his disciples. He would begin his class with a humorous remark so that his disciples became cheerful.
Thank you. So it's interesting that what does this do? This shows us examples of not just simple things like eating a bowl of cereal or like doing laundry. It gives us examples of eating yummy meat, like good cuts of meat, and a delicacy like fine wine. Even those which we think they're luxuries. So like maybe we shouldn't be having luxuries, but yes, luxuries are great when they're used in the right way. So if I'm eating good meat and delicious wine because I want to enhance my Shabbat table or my holiday table, or because I want to open my mind to put me in a better mood so that I can learn Torah better. For example, why did I make this breakfast? Because I want everyone to come and enjoy themselves. Because when everyone comes and enjoys themselves, first of all, it makes people want to come. And I'm thrilled that women want to come and learn Torah. But second of all, when you have a nice plate of food in front of you, it puts you in a better mood and it opens your mind. No one learns well when they're hungry. No one does anything well when they're hungry, right? So all of this can be used in a positive way. And the same thing that Rava would say before he ever would open his Torah class, he would always start off with a joke. Because what happens with a joke? We laugh. And when we laugh, our brain opens up, right? We know science shows today that joy and jokes and all those things kind of like open up what's the word I'm looking for? Open everything up so that we can internalize it better. The channels. Thank you, Sharon. Okay. So the same applies to activities such as going to the gym in the morning and taking your boxing class and going on a vacation or taking a shot, whatever it is. When we have in mind that I am doing this for the sake of God so that I can serve him better, I can do kindnesses for others, I can do mitzvot, and we know there's lots of opportunities, then we turn a neutral activity into a godly activity. And there's a really great story about I believe this is in the Mishnah or the Talmud, I'm not sure which. And this Rabbi Baroka Choza was often found in the market. And Elijah the prophet would come and show himself to him. And so once he said, is there anyone in this market that is worthy of Olam Haba, the world to come? And Elijah the prophet said, no. And then in the meantime, two brothers came into the marketplace, and Rabbi Elijah said, these two brothers have a share in the world to come. And he said, why? And they said, what's your occupation to these two brothers? He goes, we are comedians, and we cheer up the depressed. So by making people happy, they merited that share in the world to come because they were doing good with their skills. Everyone has a skill, and all of us are different. Some of us are funny, some of us are not. Some of us are teachers, some of us are students, some of us are great cooks or bakers, some of us are great hostesses, and on and on and on. And some of us are great people in the garden, so we can cut beautiful flowers to make people happy. We all have something within us that can be used for the betterment. So the question is, how are we going to use it? Are we going to use it for the betterment in a godly way, or are we going to use it just stum? That's the word I'm looking for. So that's, yeah. All right.
Just to meet your own needs.
Exactly. All right. And obviously this is a journey that we're all working towards. Okay. So where were we? Hold on.
We did
15. All right. So we always have to have the question, why am I doing this? Whatever this may be. Am I doing it for myself or am I doing it for a higher purpose? Oh, can I have some of that also? You can pour me a drink of water. Thank you. And thank you, Sharon. And with my intention, that is how I kind of channel where those garments are coming from. Thank you very much. Right, so by making a blessing on food, by eating kosher food, I'm taking something very simple and I'm elevating it. So if you go to page 15, you see we have figure 1.4 and exercise 1.2. Are any of you familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Raise your hands if you're familiar with it. All right. Okay. So for those who are in the mental health world or have been to therapy or just are more familiar, you will notice throughout this course a lot of things that are very popular today. It's very interesting because this was written in the 1700s and modern psychology every year is coming out with more and more. Literally, it's like we say it's Hasidus. It's coming from the Tanya. Like the Alter Rebbe was so ahead of the curve. And so one of the things we can look at here is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And the premise is that if you look at the bottom, like, the food pyramid, right? So it's the same situation. So until we satisfy the rung underneath, we cannot ascend. So a basic need that a human being needs, all of us need to breathe. We need food, we need water, we need to be able to reproduce so we can continue our race. We need sleep and we need shelter. Without those things, like if God forbid you meet a person, that's like baseline. Those are the things we need to function as human beings. Once we satisfy those, we can move to the next thing. We can talk about safety, security, we can get a job, we can get resources, we can talk about morality, all of that stuff. Once that is satisfied, we can then work on getting belongings, loving people, family, relationships, and then we can move on to self-esteem and confidence and achievement. And we can actually move to the highest rung, which is self-actualization, morality, creativity, spontaneity, problem-solving, wisdom, perspective. And I think it's so apparent if you look in the world today. I know some of you may be children of survivors or people who left the old country, and then we are children, and me, even a grandchild today of those generations. They were literally focused on surviving, right? They needed to survive. No one was thinking, who am I? What do I need? I feel anxious today. What's this mishigas? Like it's a mishigas. What do you need that? Why? They were on the bottom rung. They needed to survive. Once you survive, then you can thrive. And then they laugh at their kids. What are you working? What do you care how you feel? Feeling schmealings, right? Right. Well, what are these feelings that you're feeling? And today's world, thank God we live in such a safe and secure world, then everyone's busy feeling their feelings very strongly. And we talk about what we think the world needs, the direction we need to go to. And all of these things are because we are able to go to the top rung of self-actualization. It's a success that we are taking care of ourselves and our needs. We don't have to think about where our next meal is coming from, thank God, or where our roof over our head is. And once all of those things are satisfied, we can now think of the morality of the world. We can think about creativity, and all of these things can flourish. So the question is, where in the hierarchy, if you look at 1.2, would you set the cutoff between desires of the natural soul and desires of the godly soul?
Say once you survive, then everything else can be done in a godly
So
way.
exactly, which pursuits can become holy pursuits and which are unholy pursuits? And the way I see it is all of these can be used either way. I want food so that I can live to serve God. I want shelter so that I can live and thrive to know God. And then you take it to the top. I want to be a moral person so I can follow the ways of the Torah. I am being creative so I can teach. I have wisdom that I've learned from the Torah. All of these from the bottom up can be used either way. Everyone with me so far? All right. So we answered a very important question today. Why is it so hard to follow through on those resolutions? Like, why can't I work out 4 times a week? Like, why can't I? Because I have 2 souls within me, and each one is going, hi, hi. On each side, you know, those little people sitting on our shoulders, like me, right? We are pulled in different directions.
Home alone.
I'm just giving an example. We can apply this to anything. Why?
Just me and my husband.
Yeah.
So like
100%. But all of us have resolutions that we want to keep to. I really want this. Why can't I do it? And the answer is that we feel torn and we feel inconsistent and we feel like, why do people who are good, seem good, not do good things? And that is the way we were created. We have 2 souls within us. We have 2 identities within us, and each one is kind of pulling us in opposite directions. So when we feel bad about ourselves and we feel bad about our struggles, just remember that we were created this way. And we're going to be talking about it a lot more in the next classes. So till next class, I want you to go to the lesson takeaway, which is on page 16. Until our next lesson, try to objectively discern which of your 2 souls is generating each of the particular drives you experience, and try to note which soul actually succeeds in gaining control of your thoughts, your speech, and your actions. In the next lesson, we will discuss our experiences for the sake of rising into the next stage of our internal development. So obviously we didn't learn any lessons or any tools on how to combat this. It's an awareness. Like now you have your baseline. We have 2 souls. What are those souls made of? The garments, all of that stuff. And now as you go about your day and your next few weeks, I want you to think about when you're doing something, which soul is driving me right now? And I'm curious to hear your experiences. So let's review real quick. We're going to go to page 17 where it says key points. So today, what did we discuss? We have 2 souls, 2 identities, a natural soul and a godly soul. Our natural soul is selfish and concerned primarily with self-preservation, whereas our godly soul is selfless and concerned with godliness. This dual makeup is the cause of our internal inconsistency. And I just wanted to add here, I'm just going to give a personal example. My mother always laughed. Shayna's going to open a soup kitchen when she's older. My personality is that I don't like to see people hungry. That's the way I was born. It's probably part of my animal soul. I didn't do anything to work on it. There are plenty of people who have an animal soul who are wonderful, good people, because we all have qualities that are inside us that are great. And this could come from my animal soul. I don't like seeing people hungry, but this could be used negatively when I'll see a homeless person, and it could be collecting money for drugs, right? But I don't see it that way. He's hungry. Here, give him money for food, right? Or it can be used in a godly way where I can say, oh, let me do the mitzvah and let me buy him a hot meal. So what we're trying to say is the animal soul or the natural soul is not necessarily bad. It has a lot of capability for good. Our drive for careers, our drive to do all of that in life, all of that can be very good. Something to keep in mind when don't think of bad versus good. There's a lot of neutral. Number 2, each soul has 10 faculties, 3 cognitive and 7 emotive capacities, as well as 3 garments of external expression, which are thought, speech, and action. Number 3, any thought, speech, or action that is not a holy expression of the godly soul, including all self-serving and mundane pursuits, is by definition an expression, a garment of the natural soul. All entities, behaviors, ideas, etc. that exist can be divided into 3 spiritual classes: holy and therefore mandated or encouraged. B is unholy and therefore forbidden, which I don't have to expound further, I'm sure you know. And C is permissible but non-holy, neither sacred nor profane. Entities belonging to this category may be upgraded into the holy if they are approached with the proper intention. Through being incorporated into our service of God, they become authentic expressions of our godly soul. Any questions or comments before we end the class with one thing to read?
I'm confused about number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Each soul has 10 faculties.
Yes, we talked with the 10 mirrors. We said wisdom, understanding, understanding, and then we have kindness, severity, that graph that we saw. Those are the 10 faculties. They're 10. So the first 3 are intellectual, and this last 7 are more emotional.
Is this the one or not?
Yes, that's the one.
Page 8.
Okay, and then all of those 10 are expressed through our garments, which are thought, speech, and action.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to make sure everybody understood today. Was this something new to you, or you've heard? Okay.
Is Tanya part of the Torah?
It is part of Kabbalah, yes.
Kabbalah.
Yeah, yes.
There is a saying that says, "Sof davar b'machshava tchila."
Right.
Right? It's whatever the end of things that you're going to do, you've thought about it before.
Yes, yes.
So
Everything has a
davar.
root, right? We talk about the chachma, the bina. There's a root, and then we kind of break it down. So we said there's 10 faculties, 3 that are intellectual, 7 that are emotional, equals 10, and they are expressed through our thought, our speech, and our action. Yes. Any questions or comments before?
So is a garment only the things that are? I know that
Garments are thought, speech, and action, which basically is your body's way of bringing it from your inside to the world itself. Like I can feel sad, but until someone notices that I'm crying or my face looks sad, no one's gonna know that I'm sad. Or I could want to be kind. I could have a great idea. Like I'm gonna be the kindest person. I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna go make an event for 100 people, and I'm gonna give out charity at that event. Great idea. But until I actually speak about it and then do it, it never really happens. So when I have the things that come out through our thought, speech, and action, either in a godly way, a neutral way, or an unholy way, they only come out through those garments, which are thought, speech, and action. That's how we express it. That's how it comes out into the open.
An unholy way? I mean, that doesn't sound too good.
Listen, there are people who steal. It's not it definitely doesn't come from a holy place, right? Meaning we have neutral things, like we discussed so many options. Like everything here at this table is neutral. Paper, all of things are neutral, but then we have things that can't be elevated. A cheeseburger cannot be elevated. It is not kosher. There's nothing I can do. There's no sprinkling of dust or blessings that I can make to make a cheeseburger a godly thing, just for an example.
But if you feed a non-Jewish person with it.
And he blessing his food?
Well, we don't, blessings are, yeah.
No.
Okay, but we're talking for ourselves, for us.
Oh, okay.
Okay, if I decide to steal someone's car, there is no way that I can make that holy.
No.
It's just not a good thing, like point blank, right? That's what we talk about, not a good thing. Like killing someone, just not a great idea. And there's no way that I can make that holy. You're with me? Those are like the things that are not permissible. Like I can't make bacon permissible. I can't do it. Right? So those are what we talk.
We can have
bacon. We talked about this last week, yeah, but that's not bacon. Okay, so that's what we say. There's the things that are for sure unholy. There's nothing I can do to make it holy. There's the things that are for sure holy, like making blessings, giving charity, and then there's the things that are in the middle. And I have a decision to make which way I want it to go. Yes, ladies, with me? Okay. So I want to end off. If you look into your workbooks, I think it's on page 25 by you. It's at the end of this chapter, and it's called In the Fitting Room of the Soul. Yeah. It's just a nice way to end off the class. A nice, sweet little article. It's on page 25, yes. And ladies, there's dessert. Someone pass around the dessert, please, so everyone can grab if they'd like.
On your table.
I did make it. I apologize. She's like, uh-oh.
It's yummy though.
It is yummy. I will. It's a chocolate chip pie cookie situation. All right, so I'm going to read it out loud to you, and you can follow along. And all right, so women love shopping. I'm the exception. I hate shopping, but most women love shopping. Just ask their husbands. They'll tell you. She may have had a stressful day or had a doom and gloom outlook on life, but a short escape to the nearest mall to buy herself a new sweater, a scarf, or any other small accessory, and suddenly life looks a little brighter. It's a pretty benign habit if you're careful not to overtax your credit card. So the other day, with 15 minutes to spare and desperately in the need of a break, I headed off to my favorite department store. Within moments, I had skimmed the aisles, spotted my purchase, and tried it on, and was standing in line waiting my turn at the checkout counter. The jacket was the right size, a great fit, just my color, a perfect blend of browns and beige, and a designer label, and was reduced to a price you just couldn't resist. Add that to the sales lady's encouraging remarks, it was made for you, and the nods of approval from fellow shoppers in adjacent change rooms, and it seemed like a sure win. Of course, in the back of my mind, I knew that though the jacket fit in size, it didn't really fit in style. To be honest, it was kind of bulky and uncomfortable for indoor wear. I think I even had a similar one sitting in the back of my closet, but after all, the color was exactly what I was looking for, and didn't they all acknowledge how well it suited me? Later, I remarked that in Hasidic thought, a person's thought, speech, and action are termed the garments of his or her soul. Just as we express who we are through the clothes we choose to wear, so does the soul express its longings and wants, capabilities and talents, its unique self by clothing itself in thoughts, spoken words, and actions. Sometimes we allow ourselves to choose clothes that fit our style. We act, think, and speak compatibly with the true goals of our lives. We carefully select those garments that should be incorporated into our wardrobes and those that should be bypassed. Other times, though, external factors sidetrack us. It may be societal pressures, attractive colors, or an external fit. Whatever the case, we ignore the most important factor. Is this really expressing the me that I feel comfortable with? Are the life choices I am making in tune with my inner goals? Do they feel right and comfortable with the person I want to be? Comes a time when we may need to reassess our life's purchases, big or small. Then you may find yourself standing exactly where I was the next time that I had 15 minutes to spare. This time I was at a different counter. It had a sign above it reading customer service. After all, I'll only shop in a store where returns are gladly accepted. So I thought that was a nice way to end. All right, I'm going to stop the recording here.